All right, guys, it's time for the Next Level Guy Show, a men's interview, interest, and improvement-focused podcast featuring interviews with the greats from all industries to help you better your life. Each week, a new episode features an interview with one of the greats, covering all aspects of their story, from life hacks to tips and protocols that have allowed them to live life on the next level. We then highlight concrete action steps that you can use to improve your life. And now, your host, Ian Dawson McKay.
And today's guest is Amber Cammidge. Amber Cammidge is on a mission to help you transform your home from a source of stress into a sanctuary of peace. As a decluttering coach, podcaster, and creator of the Amber Method for finally finding balance and peace in your home, Amber combines practical techniques with mindfulness to help clients clear physical, mental, and emotional clutter. Drawing from her own journey of overcoming anxiety and overwhelm, Amber understands how deeply our homes reflect our inner worlds and how creating order starts with caring for ourselves. Through her blog, courses, and podcast, Amber provides actionable guidance to help busy individuals simplify their spaces and their lives. Whether it's learning to let go of what no longer serves you, decluttering your schedule, or using mindful breathing to reduce stress, Amber empowers you to work smarter, not harder. Her approach is not about perfection or magical solutions. It's about uncovering the beauty and calm that's already within you and in your home. If you're ready to move past chaos and into clarity, Amber is here to help you every step of the way. And in this interview, we discuss her story, how to start getting organised, letting go of emotions and feelings holding you back, creating habits to help you organise your home, the Amber Method tool for success, and so much more. And now, let's get to the interview.
When I was 40, about 10 years ago. So when I was 42, I had some pretty severe postpartum depression. I had kids kind of late. So I had a baby then. And I always had like a lot of anxiety and I think some bouts of depression, but like it was very severe whenever I had my second child. And I was like, oh my God, I was in this hole and I didn't know what to do. And so I just started like, it wasn't intentional that I started like getting rid of things I didn't know what was going to happen. It wasn't like premeditated. I just started getting rid of things. It just kind of seemed organic that, because I was trying to figure out the answer to this problem of how I was feeling. So I started getting rid of things and then I started to feel better and I got rid of more things. I started to feel better. And then I started to like, I don't know. I've never really been a religious person, but like I started feeling more spiritual and I started meditating. And that's a huge component of what I teach because it's so fascinating to me, like how it's really like a paradox. It's really like the more you get rid of things physically, like the more you can, I'm not explaining this very well, but the more you categorize these things and get them out of your life, then you are free energetically. But the paradox is that you don't categorize the things in your head. Like, you know, when you're upset about something and you try so hard to figure it out and you think yourself into this, you start ruminating and you start just getting more and more and more and more upset. It's the opposite of what you think. You don't categorize in your brain. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you just let it go. You just let it go. And then you can find the answers to whatever it is that was vexing you. You can just like, if you let it go. So, I mean, for that reason, they actually overlap. Letting go of the things and letting go of the thoughts. All of that stuff creates lots of energy and lots of positive energy. and it lets energy flow in your house and in your mind and in your body and everything. But going back to, when I was 42 and I just started getting rid of all these things, I started to feel better. And then I got rid of more things. I started to feel better. And then I started like meditating, like I mentioned. And then I started letting go of noticing all of these sort of limiting beliefs that I was having. And then I would let those go. And then ultimately I realized that I was in a toxic relationship. And so I got divorced. And now I just feel like all the things that, and I think this is true for a lot of people, a lot of the things that we think we need, whether it's, and I'll get married again. It's not about being married. It's the things you think you need. Like, I have to get married. I have to have a house. I have to have these kids. I have to have all these things from Amazon. I have to have this outfit. You know what I mean? Like, no, actually, you don't. You don't need
you live on someone else's timeline, don't you? You think, oh, I need to keep up with the neighbors. I need to keep up with my family. It's all BS, isn't it?
It's all BS. And the more you let go of those labels or that idea of thinking that you're supposed to be a certain way, the more true you become to who you really are. And then you just start to accept who you really are. And yes, it all starts with getting rid of random things. So it's huge. It seems so small, but it's freaking huge.
Because that's when I notice, like, I suffer with depression, OCD and stuff, and I notice, for example, when I start hoarding stuff and I start to get messy in the flat, that's a sign that I'm slipping and I need to get back. Like, I kind of notice it myself, but there's periods of time when, like, birthdays, I'm just about to finish a job. I've been there 12 years, and I've started getting rid of stuff, and it's like shedding an old version of myself. And I'm like, this is amazing, and I need to store all the stuff I'm not using. I've got like model cards I haven't built, and I want to put this picture up. And then I realized I have about 90,000 storage items, but I don't really have much to put up. And I think that's what a lot of us do, is we buy stuff for stuff that's never going to happen, or we don't plan ahead, or it's a future that's never going to happen. How do you start getting rid of that belief that you can change, that we are going to be messy and unorganized? What was it that caused it for you? Was it just that continuous shedding of your past self?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because you're not alone. We all do that to a certain degree. I think some of us hold on to those versions harder and tighter than others of us. But I do think that it's a product of our anxiety and our fear of letting go, and letting go in any way. Like, I don't know. Do you meditate at all?
I try to, but it's not a habit yet.
That's fine. No, it's just that, like, first of all, I think meditation is so misunderstood, and I'm going to answer your question in a second, but like, I'm relating the letting go of the things to the sort of letting go of the tightness that exists in our bodies. And a lot of us, it's just our default. It used to be my default for 42 years. Like, you're holding on tight. You're trying to get done. With everything. You're trying to optimize. You got to do this and that. And then when I realized that you can just pause and you won't die. You really won't. Yep. Like, you can't, it's okay. Like, just to let go. And I do this all, like, at random times throughout the day, but like, letting go. There's this fantastic book I read that was in the very beginning of this journey for me. And it was by Michael Singer, and it's called The Surrender Experiment. And have you read that?
Don't think so. It doesn't ring a bell.
It's really, for me at the time, it was just so helpful, because it really was about just letting go of the control. That's what I'm trying to, that's the answer to the question. It's like all of those things that you're holding on to. It's like you want some control over your life, and it makes a lot of sense. It's like, if you're not in control of your life, then who is? Well, the really amazing thing is that once you let go of the control and you let go of the past versions and the future versions and all the versions, you can finally just be. And it's huge. It's amazing.
Because I'm a major fan of your podcast, Declutter Your Chaos, and I find it almost like it's a therapy session as much as it's an actual podcast. Because you deal with, like we're talking about before we started, like dealing with shame, dealing with like the mental blocks, as well as amazing tips on how to fix your stuff. But was that the inspiration for starting the podcast? That you saw people were struggling and you thought, because you say yourself that you're self-taught, but is that what's got you to start the podcast, that you could help people by actually tried and tested methods?
Yes. So the reason I started the podcast was because I went through this change that I felt was so monumental that I was excited to share it with people. I knew that I wasn't alone. I knew that if I felt this way, then I knew that there were other people that felt this way too. Oh, and you're going to have to like get me away from the meditation thing, because I keep on going back to it. but when you meditate, you realize that because I was very lonely back then. And, you have these two small kids, and then but you feel very isolated and lonely. And I was, but when you meditate, you start to feel connected to everyone and everything. And I knew in this, like when I had started to meditate, I knew that there were other people that felt the same way that I did. And that is why I started the podcast, because I felt like I wanted to connect with them, and that I thought that I became what I needed. You know what I mean? Like for the decluttering, honestly, I don't know if I said it on any of the episodes that you listen to, but I'm a very messy person. Not as much anymore because I have my strategies, but I was like always I considered myself a messy person. But I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah. But I like knew that there were people out there that were feeling like failures, feeling lonely, feeling like all the things that I was. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The reason I even started my business, which was actually before I started meditating, which I'll tell you about in a second, but I started that because it was an answer to my own prayers. Like I was like, I'm so messy. I need somebody to help me. I need somebody to come into my house and help me like get organized and just be more orderly. And then and I started this business. It was called Tidy Hour. And then COVID hit after I started my business. And so I wasn't going into basically my business was this idea that I had for a kind of like a cleaning service, but instead of cleaning like your floors and your bathrooms, it would be like cleaning your insides of your cabinets. So it was like an organizing service, but it wasn't, you know how you can call like the Container Store or any of those big like companies and they'll come help you organize your stuff, and it's very expensive. It's like, $10 grand or something. Well, this was going to be like I still think this is a great idea, by the way.
Oh, I would hire you right now. My kitchen's a mess.
But it was going to be like a maid service that would come in, and then it would just like help you clean out the areas that you can't see, right? And like, okay, so you don't need this anymore. We're going to help you, like kind of help you organize or declutter. Anyway, that was a long time in the works. And then COVID happened. And so I wasn't going into anyone's houses, and I stopped doing that. And that's when I started doing my podcast. And I was like, well, at least I can kind of go through this journey with people and help them with whatever ways I've figured out. And so it's not really like, I'm so great at this, let me explain to you how to do everything. It's not that. It's more like, here I am. I'm just like you. And these are some of the tricks that I have figured out, and I'm going to share them with you.
That's good. And I like how in your bio of the podcast you talk about never being alone. You know what it like a lot of mums or a lot of dads will feel messy and like God, they're letting their kids and their family down. When in reality it's we've all got a bit of mess, but we all blame each other. And do you think that's why people hoard, why people beat ourselves up, why we put so much stress on ourselves? It's because we feel alone, because we haven't got people to talk to. And that's why I like, shows like yourself, Kondo, and all Marie Kondo, and all these sort of people, that you're starting to show us how to do it, but give us an accountability partners through your Facebook groups and stuff like that. Do you find now that shows like yours are now helping so many people because of that?
I do think we live in such a lonely time. Like that's just the world we live in, and it's so sad. And when I had kids, I thought that it would be like it was when I was a kid, and like where my there was it wasn't like a village mentality, but at least it was more of a neighborhood where you kind of like had block parties and got together, and it just doesn't seem like that doesn't happen anymore. And it's so lonely, not just for it's for everyone, for most of us. And I did, yes, to answer your question, yes, that is a big reason why I started all of this, because when you're home and you're doing these pretty amazing things in your home, nobody sees, nobody shares it with you. Like your spouse might come home and be like, great, you cleaned today, or and I was working full time, so I was doing it all. I was like teaching full time, and then I was like trying to have like this Martha Stewart house, which is just so stupid. It's not realistic, it's not prizeworthy. It's just, I don't, like you were said in the very beginning, like, why are we all trying to live up to these standards that are in our head and nobody else cares? Just, we got to let that go. But anyway, I just started this Facebook group in the beginning of the summer, and it has been just magical. Like, I just seeing what people are doing and not doing it alone. You're doing something like cleaning out your refrigerator. That is the most not exceptional task, but it is, because you can eat easier and you can find your food easier, and you spent this hour doing it and you feel so accomplished. And it's like these tiny little things in life. They don't have to be big. You don't have to freaking go to, someplace halfway across the world and do something. First, you start in your own home. That's what my sort of philosophy is too. Like, first, just create peace here. And so many of us struggle with that. We're like, well, we'll create peace somewhere else. And it's like not even something that's feasible. It's just, no, start here. Start inside your own body. Start inside your own home. Like, breathe. First, just breathe. Create peace inside your skin, and then create peace inside your family, and then create peace and let it spread out, as opposed to pointing fingers. You know what I mean?
It should your home should be a place, a safe haven, somewhere to relax and enjoy being with your family, not somewhere that you come home and it's combative and it's like, oh, you never
Right.
took the bins out, you did this, you did that. And I think that's the problem, is a lot of us are coming home and going, oh, I've got to tidy up, and it's that victim mentality. We're seeing organization as a struggle rather than a chance to benefit you. Like meal prep, and I know where everything is, and I know that I can go in and not find a bunch of rotten food because I've not wasted money, because I know it's all, like I can rotate my food and plan for the week. And there's so
Yeah.
many benefits. And every time I listen to your show, I'm usually cleaning at the time, and it's like, that's such a great idea. I need to do that. I need to do that. Where does the line come between personalization and putting, your mark on a place, and clutter? where, how does that become that's mess and that's actually my my personality in a room? Like, because if you go into somebody's sit room and go, that's an amazing display, and somebody else could come in and go, that's terrible, that's just a pile of junk. Where does that line come, do you think? How do we know where to start and what to get rid of, etc.?
That is another great question. So, when everything, I know you've heard this before, but when everything is special, nothing is special.
Mm.
So, like, if here's the thing, if you want to talk about your items, right? Like, say I have this heart and it's really special to me, and I wanted to tell you about it. And even if I wanted to see it, I can't have a bunch of things laying around it because you will be blind. The clutter makes and I'm not even going to call it clutter. Too many objects blind you to this, to seeing, really. All
Mm.
you see, that's the way our brains work. And I've read a lot of books and articles and lots of this is true. Like, the way our brains work is, if there's too much stuff, they can't see the individual, you can't see the individual items. So I get what you're saying. All of these things are special to me, and I can't, like, let's say I have 20 things on my shelf, and I'm like, oh, well, I want to pare it down to 10. Okay, I want to take this thing out, but then you don't want to get rid of that thing because that thing is really special to you. You need
Mm.
the 20 things. So I think the answer is, you just can't have them all together. You know what I mean? Like the other, I want to actually piggyback on myself and say that if you have several things that represent one era or one version of you or one emotion that is evoked inside of you, you don't need those 5 things. You need one of those things, because that one thing will bring up the same feeling. I'm not about getting rid of everything. But if you have those 20 things on the shelf, and they're not bringing you the feeling that you want or that is intended, then try getting rid of some of them, or even like putting some of them in storage and then changing them out. Although that's not really my thing, because we want to make your life easier rather than having to change things out. But, like, do you have a certain category of things that you tend to hang on to? Like, are they similar items, or are they all different all over the place?
It depends on the room, but for me, it's like paperwork from like 10 years ago. And then I'll go into the kitchen and it's tons of like plastic containers. And then it's the air fryer sits out where I know I don't need it all the time, and in the kitchen. Then I go into the garage and it's the shelves are just a mismatch because, okay, it'll do there. That it's trying to get out of that mentality. My mom used to say everything needed to have its own home. But how do you even start when everything is everywhere, but you want to keep everything in your head? How do you lose that emotional attachment to it?
Yeah. So it sounds like the things that you're describing are not sentimental items. It sounds like they're things that you think you might use one day, like the
Mm.
containers, the things in the garage, all those things. So that is a lot easier than the sentimental items. So that's almost more like a logical thing. It's like, how many of these containers can you use at one time? And I know what you're thinking. Well, there might be a time that I will use this one, this shape, this height, this everything. But you can't you
Mm.
can't live like the future version of yourself. You have
No.
to live like you would today, or even just the next couple of months. I get that. It doesn't have to be like, I'm not, today, the next 8 hours or whatever, but like, in the next couple of months, if you're not going to use those containers, it's time to get rid of them because they are costing you so much more than you know. They are costing you time, they're costing you space, they're costing you energy. If you are surrounded by all this stuff, it's not good for your health. So I think that what we need to think about, and I do talk about this a lot on the podcast, is not about what the amount of money we're going to lose if we get rid of the things. It's about what we'll be gaining if we get rid of the things. What we're gaining is this space that is priceless.
Because I was just thinking just now, like under my bed, for example, I have boxes and there'll be like an old Atari video system that I used to play with my brother. There's sports equipment under there that when I used to lift heavy. And I think I was listening to you just now and I was thinking, yeah, I do. I tell myself a story about that. I could be using that stuff, but in my head, it's like, that's when I was fit and healthy. That's when I was having fun before I lost my sense of self the last couple of years. You know, and you do tell yourself these stories about these things, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You tell yourself these stories, and it's all like, who do you want to be right now? Like, I used to have a lot of projects in the garage that every time I would walk past them, it was a lot of sewing projects that I thought that I would do one day. And I was like, every time I walk past them, I'm like, oh God, Amber, why can't you just like get it together? Why can't you do this project? And I realized that project was causing me so much anxiety that it wasn't worth it. Like, it's supposed to be fun. I was supposed to create something and it was going to be fun. No. So during this big initial decluttering session, when I started this whole process, I got rid of the sewing machine. I got rid of all the things that I was going to sew, and I felt fantastic. I wasn't like, mourning their departure. I was like, I feel free. Like I'm not, I don't have to do that. I don't have to make those pillows. Nobody's going to make me make those pillows. Yes. And so I think that that's the conversation we need to have with ourselves. Like, do I want to lift the weights? And if I don't, that's okay. That's fantastic. And let that go and see what exciting new things are going to come into my life, because nothing new will come in if you're just hanging on to these previous versions. Maybe something better than the weightlifting or the, Atari or whatever that kind of stuff is. I know that you're holding on to it because it's a memory that you loved. Here's another side note. If you take a picture of the gaming console, it can help. I know it sounds silly, but if it's really just a memory that you are hanging on to it for, take a picture and put it in a folder,
like sort of Dropbox,
yeah, somewhere, and title it like your brother's, stuff I used to do with whatever his name is, or when he sends you a birthday card or whatever, take a picture, put it in that file, so you have these memories of him that aren't just. That's the other thing. We don't like the idea of like throwing this memory in the garbage. So take it to the donation center. Maybe somebody's collecting those things. Maybe somebody will make an art piece out of it. Who knows? But I get the whole like taking it to the e-waste. I mean, that's kind of sad.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? You always think you're going to have a plan for it. You always think in the future where we're not living now. And when I initially started, when my depression was really bad, I came in and the hallway was messy. My bike needed its tires blown up. My kitchen had dirty dishes around. It just seemed clutter and mayhem everywhere. So you have this premise you talk about of decluttering little by little in the show. But how do you get somebody to start, no matter the state of their house? How do we pick a spot and go? Is it the entranceway as you come in the door? Is it your bedroom? Is it where you're going to leave your wallet and your phone? Just so you have a little clean space that you can sort of keep it clean and branch out from. What's your
Yes.
preferred way of doing it?
So I like to think of it as, there's a lot of different ways you can approach it, but based on how you ask that question, my answer to you would be you start with to base it on time as opposed to project. Base it on time as opposed to project. And what I mean by that is you are going to trick your body to accomplish something first thing when you wake up. And I talked about this recently on my challenge and on my podcast about making your bed in the morning. So it's the little thing, but it's a very quick and easy win. And I say this on the podcast, it's not about the bed. Nobody cares if your bed's, looks good. Nobody's going to see it. Like, it doesn't matter. And you're just going to mess it up again. It has nothing to do with the bed. It has to do with how it makes you feel. And that's kind of the sort of a microcosm basis of my whole entire show, because it's not about all this stuff. It's about how you feel, and accomplishing that tiny little task before, in the first 5 minutes of you opening your eyes in the morning. That's what propels you to do the next thing. And maybe the next thing has nothing to do with decluttering. Maybe the next thing has nothing to do with cleaning. Maybe the next thing has nothing to do with anything, but whatever it is, you're going to feel better than you would have if you didn't make the bed. And what's magical is that you make the bed and you feel like, okay, yeah, I did that. And then you're like, I think I'm going to go clean the kitchen. And then, you're like, oh, well, I got to go to work. I only have a few minutes. Okay, maybe I'll just go unload the dishwasher, or, whatever it is, just one tiny thing. And it's every little thing that you accomplish propels you to the next thing. And it really is. It's all about what's in here and here. It's not what's out there. I know I talk about her on my podcast too, but Mel Robbins is just a master at this. And it's that whole 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The simplest things are the most effective. She says that's why the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing works, because it's so simple. It's like I do that every morning. I do the Mel Robbins, I don't want to get out of bed, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I'll do it. Actually, sometimes I count backwards, 5 times, but eventually I'll get up and do it for my kids. I'm like, all right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And she says that the reason why that works is because it gets you in your analytical brain, which is what I talk about also when you're trying to decide whether to keep something or let go of something. One of my hacks is to do it with numbers. Stay in your analytical brain. Think about it in numbers. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place right now, but going back to the containers that you're hanging on to, if you have 10, make it about the numbers. What's half the 10? 5. Cut it in half. Just get rid of 5. You don't have to get rid of everything. You just have to decrease it. That's all. But anyway, to answer your question, back to your question. So yeah, it's the motivation is definitely it comes from inside, and it's from doing a tiny thing that you really don't want to do. Who wants to make their bed? What a dumb, boring thing to do. But it's you do it and you feel better. And that's what it's about. It's about doing the small things that, make you feel good.
Because I've definitely started noticing that myself, as I used to have this complicated morning and evening routines, and I would never finish it half the time, or I'd miss stuff off and I'd fall asleep before I'd done everything. And then I listened to your episode about routines, and it was about just making your bed. And then I read somewhere else about somebody saying it's just a win for the day. That's no matter what else you achieve, at least you can say I made my bed. And I can't remember what it was for the evening one, but it was just, he said, even if it's just all you achieve for the day, you've done it. And now I find myself, no matter what, no matter how much I'm late running for the car, my journey in or whatever, I make my bed. And it just gives me that little, And when I go in and my bed's made in the night, I go, it's comfy. It's like, it's nice to go into a made bed, and it's the little things like that. It's like I'll empty the dishwasher now while I'm standing waiting for the kettle to go. Whereas before I would think, now I'm just like, just do it. Just make a wee, and I think that's the beauty of your show. You get us into that moment of, it's enjoyable. It's not a punishment. It's something about being proud, being happy for yourself, but also making it into just go and do it now. Just don't worry about it. Don't stress yourself out about it. And I love that about your show. But if I go into a room and it's really messy, what are your go-tos? Do you think black bags, cloths? Like, how do I prepare myself for a clean out session? Or is it just a little in everything? Just a little bit here, a little bit there, no matter how messy it is?
I mean, with these kinds of things, there's so many different approaches, which is why I talk about all of them. Like, I talk about all these different approaches and these different ways to get motivated. And because one of them might stick, and one of them might stick tomorrow that didn't stick today. For example, yesterday I posted a podcast about kind of what you're asking about right now, but it's just for a very messy room. And one of the reasons why some of this seems so obvious, but because it's like we all struggle with this, we don't talk about it. It's well, not all of us struggle with it, but a lot of us struggle with this. So, but we don't talk about it because it seems so obvious. So what I'm about to tell you is it's refreshing to hear because it's simple and it validates your instincts. Okay. So basically you're in the garage, you're in this very, 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 very messy room, and you don't even know where to begin. You're like, oh my God, I have to take that out to the yard. I have to sell that thing. I have to throw away, like, who knows what. I don't want to throw it away. When does the trash person come? That, like, all this stuff just in your head. Right. And in this episode, I kind of compare what I compare it to working out. And what we want to do is make this decluttering session so unemotional that it's just like working out. It's like we don't go to the gym and think like, no, we're like the most like thoughtless person. We're just watching our screen or listening to our thing, and we're jogging, and we have zero emotion. We have zero thoughts. We're just trying to get through the freaking workout, right? Well, that's what I want the decluttering session to be. I want it to be unemotional. Okay. So the way to do that is to simplify it as much as possible. Instead of thinking, oh, I need to sell that, or I need to move that to the kitchen. Oh, my daughter might want that. Like, too many questions. You need 2 questions. When you're working with a very messy space, 2 questions. I mean, 1 question, stay or go. Stay or go. That's it. Stay or go. And then later on, we'll worry about where it's going to go if it stays, where it's going to go if it goes. But when you're with like in my garage, there's, that I cleaned out recently. That was it. Does it stay or does it go? And that's all you need to do, because otherwise it is just too much. And then it does become more of a physical workout. It's like you're just literally moving things from one place to another. And here's another great thing about doing just stay or go. initially. The great thing about that is that it becomes easy to let things go for some
Yeah.
reason. I think, I don't know why, but it's the way our brain works. Like, you're just like, just put it in the to go pile, to go, to go, to go. And then I think partially because we don't want to deal with it if we put it in the stay pile. But it's less thinking. It's just a workout. That's all it is. Just stay or go. So I
Yeah.
think that's helpful. And then later you can come back and figure out, where is this stuff going to go? Is it going to go in the trash? Is it going to go? But are we going to sell it? Are we going to put it on my friend's doorstep? Whatever. And then the stuff we're keeping, we can decide exactly where we're going to keep it. But initially, just make it simple. Make it like a workout.
It's time for a quick break. There are millions of potential products to buy, so how do you know which ones are worth your hard-earned money? Simple. You go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and explore those that will transform and improve your life. You'll find deals, listener exclusives, and special offers with some great companies. Recommendations are 100% honest and only on items Ian has tried or believes in. The companies showcased will make you a better man in all areas of your life. Simply go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and level up.
I really like that because there's times I've been cleaning a space and I'll go balls to the wall, so to speak, for the first half an hour. And then I'll pick up an item and I'll go, oh, and suddenly you lose your motivation. You start telling yourself about the story about this, and you stop and you think about it, and I'll go for a cup of tea, and I need to nip to the toilet, and then I need to do that. Before you know it, you've basically done nothing for like 2-3 hours. And I
And
like
you're
that idea.
tired.
Yes. And I like the
You
idea
get
of just
tired.
treating it like a gym session, just getting in, doing the thing, and leaving, because it's that moment into it. It's like, oh, but I might need this 50 years down the line, so I'll just hoard it just now. And it's, how do you make then your family get involved? Because a lot of people go, oh no, my wife does the house. She makes it pretty. I've got my man drawer. I've got my space in the garage. I've got my, where I put all my stuff. How do you get your kids involved? How do we make people realize it's a family thing to keep it nice and pretty and like, motivational and usable? But also, how do we avoid somebody going, oh, I'm always cleaning, I'm always the one that has to tidy up, to remove that
Mm-hmm.
victimhood, but make everybody take part in the organization and the decluttering and the just livable space?
Such a good question. So I think the short answer is you lead by example, and they'll catch on. And if they don't, they don't. That's the thing. Like, I think most of the time you lead by example, and they will, especially your kids. They're gonna want to have order. It's a human sort of craving that we have, order. Um, it may not be on your time schedule. It may not be when you want it to happen. It may, you might say, "Hey, honey, it's time for us to declutter," and they're like, "No, actually, no, not happening for me today." And you have to again let go and give them the space to be them and to let go of control. I mean, I could say that about everything. Let go of the things, let go of the thoughts, let go of the trying to control everyone else's schedules, trying to control everyone else's days. Now, with your kids, obviously, you have a lot more control than with your spouse, but um leading by example. And I also wanted to say something about being a victim. I can't remember what you asked me, but like something about being
Well, it's just that people
oh,
seem to think it's like, it's almost, that kind of sexist attitude of it's like, oh, it's a woman's role to clean and she's there to tidy up after the kids and the man. That
Thank you.
silliness. How do we
Yeah.
get guys into enjoying the space, but being part of the upkeep of it as much?
Yeah, thank you. Okay. That's exactly what I wanted. I remembered. So you can't control them. You just can't. And so it's doing it for yourself and not being a victim. But also, this is such a big topic, which is why I talk about this book in my podcast a lot. It's called Boundary Boss by Terry Cole. Boundary Boss by Terry Cole. And she talks all about this. So there's such a fine line between doing what you want and because you're doing it for your own self-development. Even if it's just unloading the dishwasher, you're doing it because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like, I don't know, like you're on top of it. But then there's this what we want to do is avoid the victim mentality. And we live in a victim mentality world, so it is so hard to do this. But you do what you're comfortable doing. And when you feel uncomfortable doing it anymore, when you're feeling like you're being taken advantage of, and this is an internal job. Like, this isn't something that your spouse is going to decide. This isn't something your kids are going to decide. This is something you have to, your come to Jesus thing. Like, what truly are you comfortable with doing? And then when you decide that, you have to communicate it to the other people, and you have to have the confidence to enforce it. Like, I'm not because honestly, sometimes I just don't mind picking up after my kids. I just don't. It's not the hill I want to die on that day. But then, or when I was married, we're picking up after my husband. I don't care sometimes. But when it does become the hill that you will die on, you have to communicate it and enforce it before it starts to tear you up inside, because it will. I mean, we're talking about just general everyday repeated things that will eventually suck your soul if you let it. So you have to, again, back to the meditation. If you are aware of your feelings, this is why I stopped drinking, because I didn't have a very accurate awareness of how I was feeling, because I was like, not that I was ever like an alcoholic, but like, even if I had a couple glasses of wine a night and then the next day I was recovering, I had no awareness of how I was truly feeling. And you know what I mean? So anyway, it starts with you and how you feel on the inside, because that way you can know for sure how to communicate this without screaming and without being resentful and without acting like a victim. Like, guys, we all live here together. This is what I need, and I'm willing to do this and that, and this is what I need from you. Okay, mom, sure, whatever. Well, then they're not going to do it. So then, you know what? I actually do need you to do this, and this is what's going to happen. I start unplugging shit. Like, I unplug the TV, I'll unplug
the router and
I mean, like, everything. I'm not crazy. I just, I asked you to do the thing, and I don't want to live with a roommate that sucks. So, go do the thing. So yeah, it's just constant. It's a constant, I don't even want to say battle, because it doesn't feel like a battle. It's a constant protecting of your own boundaries. That's all it is. Protecting your boundaries, because when those boundaries start to get violated, that's when you get pissed. That's when you start yelling. And if you don't know your boundaries, well, you're kind of screwed. So, you get what I'm saying? Like, you have to really know, you have to come back to your center again and again and again and again. That's why all this stuff is so related, like the meditation, the boundaries, the getting rid of things, the making space, all that. It's all related,
I really like that because I think that's something that there was a series called Living Like James Bond by Paul Keriazi, I think his name was. Probably butchered it, but he had this idea of like you have your little space and you keep it clean, and that's a non-negotiable for the whole day. And then as you clean that next bit, you clean a wee bit more, and it builds from there. And he had this idea about you do it to your car, you do it to your work office, and I like that idea of having that boundary of doesn't matter how messy your workplace is, you're going to have your desk clean. You're going to have your car organized in a way. Do you like that kind of approach of no matter your place in air quotes, no matter what it is, even if you don't own it, but it's something you work like that you're involved in, you keep it clean to an extent or organized to keep that motivation, that mindset throughout the day?
I love that. I love that. And I think that that kind of speaks to the whole boundaries thing, because that's what this person that you just mentioned, I'm going to check that out. Living Like James Bond. It sounds interesting,
What?
but that was that person's boundary, and um, and that works for him, and that probably works for a lot of people, because if you have this one space that you can feel peaceful in, if you have this one space that that you're responsible for and that you can go to, and what it helps feel like you have some order, as opposed to, oh my God, I have to do this whole house, it's too much. But what is really cool about having the one little space is that it will provide you with this feeling of calm that one little space will, whether it's your desk, whether it's the island, whatever, your car, whatever the space is. And it will, just like we talked about with the bed, it will propel you to want that in other areas of your space. And I just have to add that this isn't like we're such cyclical humans, we're beings. We're like, we're going to have seasons when we're messy. And by seasons, I mean like maybe a week, maybe we're going to have times where we don't feel good and our house is just a complete pigsty. And that's okay. There's going to be a few nights where we're just too tired to do the dishes. And that's okay. Because that doesn't define us. Like, yes, our environment is a reflection of how we feel inside, 100%. And it's okay to not feel freaking bright and sunny and shiny and cheery every day. And that messy kitchen, yeah, it's okay. Maybe I was too freaking tired. I didn't do it. And that doesn't mean you suck as a human. It just doesn't mean that, at all. Like, I think that everything like is a reflection. Everything like is a reflection of how we're feeling and who we are. And that's just kind of how I have learned to see the world, because you do see it through this sort of lens of how you're feeling. But at the same time, it's okay to not feel shiny all the time. And I think that we have this expectation, especially because of social media and Instagram and all that, like that our house has to be perfect, guest ready at all times. And it's bullshit.
Well, I'm in trouble if it's meant to be like that, because when I put my camera on, I was making sure there was no mess that could be seen in the backgrounds. But how then do you make sure somebody, like as you're cleaning out and you say, right, I'm definitely getting rid of that, because there used to be the yes, getting rid of the pile, no, I'm keeping, and the maybe pile. And they used to say, just throw the maybe pile into the throw out pile. Because if you were even doubting it, just get rid of it, because you're trying to find an excuse. But how do you make sure then that you get rid of it? How do we not just move it to another space, leave it at the door, and it's still there 3 weeks later because you're still coming up with excuses to keep it? How do we make sure we get rid of it and then use that as positive energy to kind of enjoy the free space, make it more our space again? Now you've got rid of that noise.
Yeah, I think that if you take it to your car and immediately drive it there and then give yourself a reward. So let's say you really want to go to Starbucks. Oh, well, there's a Starbucks on the way after the donation center. I'm going to drop it off at the donation center and then go get my Starbucks. So you're not thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm getting rid of all these things that I really want to keep, because you don't, God, you're going to feel so much better when you get rid of them. You're thinking more about the reward. So yeah, it's just like, we're just all little kids, right? We just want our rewards. So get rid of the stuff and get your reward.
Because I think I've seen that in your Facebook group. I think you say like, "Oh, we're going to clean our garages today," and then if you take part and send me photos, I'll send you a Starbucks gift card. And it's that kind of, it's that reward. It's that kind of, just keep focused, do that little space here. Here's an account. Like, that's why I was saying about using your Facebook group as an accountability partners. It kind of, everybody's doing it. I'm not alone. And I can see what other people do, and I can use their as motivation. And yes, you might be the only person that because you've got young kids, but you can see these people on Facebook, and social media makes the world a smaller place. And I love that you do that. Have you found other kind of small challenges? Because I used to love having drop bins where if there was a bit of mess, like you picked up a kid's toy or some paperwork or whatever, you put it in that bin till later. And that was the bit that kept the mess out the way, and then you tidied it later on. So you didn't have stuff just everywhere. You had it in that one bin in each room kind of thing. It could be like a pretty, I don't know, like box or something, but it kept shit out the way, basically. Do you find
Yeah.
Do you find there's any other challenges or little tricks like that are no energy wins, so to speak?
That's a great one. I love that. I think with a lot of people that listen to my show, we would probably run into a problem with like putting too much stuff in the cleanup bin,
Yep.
And then we're like, oh, the cleanup bin. I don't know where my glasses are. They're probably in this cleanup bin. Oh, maybe they're in that cleanup bin. I think that, like, for my listeners and myself, we probably would be this. I think the cleanup bin might stress us out, but I do like the idea of exactly what you just said, but having a decluttering bin. So, let's say you picked up some random thing more than you wanted to. Well, that's a bad example, because if you're picking something up, you're probably using it. But if you happen to have a shirt or whatever the thing is that you really decide that you don't need, you're like, why am I looking at that thing again? I don't want that thing. Pick it up, go put it in. And I do like the idea of like a cute little like basket or something. And put it in there. I used to, before I got divorced, I did this, and my ex-husband was, he didn't like getting rid of things. And so he'd look in the decluttering bin. He'd be like, what is this? What? Why don't you want this pen? Oh, this works really. This is a great shade of blue. And we would have this whole he's hilarious. Like we would have
like
this
my
whole
dad.
conversation. Yeah. Like, have you seen the shade of blue that this writes in? Like, no, I cannot talk about this anymore. And so
my dad would keep car parts for cars we no longer owned, because you never know when it might be used.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know when it might be used. Um, you're not, and did you use them? Did you ever use the car
Oh,
parts?
hell no. I think we threw them out quite a while ago, but
Yeah. You never use the car parts, and they took up space. You know what? I think it just calms people down. It calms people down to think that they have this thing. Oh my gosh. I know I talk about this on the podcast a lot too. And this was definitely the case with my ex-husband. It made him feel more calm to hold on to things. But then whenever we got divorced and I had all this stuff in my garage and I said, "Hey, do you want any of it?" And he's like, "No, none of it." Because he didn't really want anything. You know what I mean? Like it was a momentary, it was a temporary fix.
it's
The
almost
keeping
like, yeah, it's like holding on to that item means they can get some sort of emotional feeling by owning it rather than dealing with that emotional problem that they've got. Yeah, I do that a lot. I hoard stuff when I am struggling or feeling unhappy. I tend to hoard jiu-jitsu gis or I don't know, like notepads. If I'm buying for work, I'll buy tons of stuff because but I can't go and tell my friend how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? I'd rather spend money than deal with that emotional problem. So I hoard and I clutter rather than dealing with it. Oh, I could give you about 50 episodes for your podcast. I think there's a lot of things guys do in that sense. That's why he wants to keep the pen rather than maybe speak to you about how he was feeling or if there was an issue or, we avoid the difficult conversations by dealing by dealing with physical items rather than dealing with the emotional side.
yes, you are so on it. Yes, exactly. That's what we do. And what I think is amazing is, God, I would love to do this with you sometime. Like, just go get rid of something that is easy for you to get rid of and see how, like, something that, not all the stuff you just mentioned, like not the stuff that you actually hoard or the stuff that you want, but something that you truly do need to get rid of, and start there and see how that makes you feel. But like, also my method, which is perfect for someone like you, is all about breathing and all about feeling your body as opposed to being in your head. So my whole approach is to get you out of your head and into your body. And so, like, it's kind of cheesy, but I called it the Amber method because I needed an acronym, and I wanted to have an M and a B and a. Anyway, I was like, oh my God, those are the letters of my name. So, anyways, um, the huge thing for you would be to breathe, because it just calms our nervous system and we're able to access those, like, the things, the words. You know how you were saying, like, you don't want to have this emotion, you don't want to talk about this emotion. Well, it allows us breathing, even just like taking a few really deep intentional breaths, which is what I guide people to do in my courses and sometimes on my podcast. When you can do that, you really are able to physically touch the places inside of you that you're holding on tight to. And you just let go and you realize that you're safe. And you know how that whole old story about how we as humans, we do this fight or flight thing because that's how we have evolved, to make sure that we are safe in the wild from saber-toothed tigers or what have you. And that's just kind of how we've evolved. And because we know that, we have to keep ourselves in check from it. So when we feel And like I said earlier, a lot of us, for a lot of us, this is our default. But this state of feeling a little tight and a little controlling and a little anxious and breathing, taking some very deep, intentional breaths where you breathe in deeply and breathe out slowly is going to make us feel like we can access those emotions and like we can more easily, not even that we need to talk about, like earlier you were saying, like, I'm holding on to this pen because I actually don't want to feel the things that the pen's easier than the feelings, right? Well, when our nervous system feels safe, which is what breathing allows us to do, is to feel safe in our nervous system, we don't have to hold on to anything because this makes us feel safe. You get what I'm saying? And when we feel safe, we're like, cool, I don't need to hold on to the thing. And I can talk about whatever that emotion was. Even if it's just to myself, I can just like have awareness of it. I talk about that a lot in the podcast too, just having awareness. And it helps to let go. So I think that's a huge thing. And we should do like a session. We should do a decluttering session, you and me.
I love
And
it.
we'll do some breathing. It'll be awesome.
I mean, if you've got time, if you can, how would you quickly define the Amber method for people? Because we're going to get people signing up to your boot camps, we're going to get people listening to your podcast, which is life changing. I mean, just a little aside: when I'm cleaning or like prepping for a guest, I'll play their episodes, and as I'm doing stuff, if I stop and take up my phone to write a question, I know it's a good point they made, and it's inspired me. But if I stop and just listen to it, I know I'm really feeling that podcast moment, or I'm feeling that tip or what they're saying. And with your show, a lot of times I stop and I'm just, holy hell, it's like she's fixing something I've got inside me. That episode I think you were talking about getting rid of shame. I felt cleansed a bit after it because I was holding on to emotional clutter. And then I was like, geez, that was amazing. It's like I needed it at that moment. And I think that's why your show works so well. It's you get rid of emotional clutter, mental, cognitive clutter. It's much as physical clutter. So it's almost like a therapy session and a clean with it. So yeah, obviously I'd love to have you back on. I cannot. Your show is life changing. But what?
Yeah, you're like gonna make me cry. This is
Honestly, that's why every episode I was going into, there was like, oh, I've got a whole podcast I could potentially do on that. And I know we're over our time just now, but what can we do going forward? How can we keep this momentum that, like we'll start listening to your show, but how can we use the Amber method? And then how do we get in touch with you for boot camps and things like that?
Well, this right now, I've been working on my website for a while. Like I had a really crappy website for a couple years. I did it myself. And then finally I decided to get a real professional website made, and it's not quite done yet, but it will be soon. So when that's done, I am going to do, I'm going to do like a boot camp and stuff like that. But for right now, I have the podcast and the Facebook group that people can come to. And on all my episodes for Declutter Your Chaos on my podcast, I have a link that they can go to the Facebook group. And then as soon as my website's ready and I can, like on the website, it's going to be so cool. So I'm going to have like, it's almost done. So I know what's on there. And so I have the Amber method, and then I have all these little tips that you can use. And then I have all this recommended reading, because I mean, that's how I I read like so many books, and that's how I continue to grow. And, I don't think there's anything like you don't go to decluttering school. You just like, I teach people whatever has worked for me, and it has been relatable, and it has been giving them results, which is just like the most rewarding, most exciting thing ever. But anyway, the website will be done in hopefully a couple weeks, and then when that's ready, people can. I have a course that they can take that goes along with this accountability group. And so it's just like a little bit more involvement than you would be getting in the Facebook group. And, you know, more, just more basically, like more connection, more, online, like virtual meetings. And then the course actually is cool because it's everything you just said. It's decluttering. I teach you how to declutter your space step by step, because I'm all about step by step. I'm not going to be like, "Oh, here you go. Good luck." It's step by step, but it's also decluttering your mind and body, and the mental clutter, the emotional clutter. And I take tiny little pieces. Like today, we're just going to take one massive deep breath and see what that feels like. And then tomorrow, we're going to do a body scan just from here to here. Then the next day, we're going to do a body scan from here to here. And again, like I was telling you earlier, it's all about like feeling safe in your body. But that way, all these external things are not required for you to feel safe.
I love that. That made so much
And
sense.
that's all in the course, and I talk about that on the podcast too. But yeah.
So we've got to do a round 2 and go in a round 3, because there's so many different rabbit holes I want to go into. But I know we're over our time, and I cannot thank you enough for coming on, because honestly, your podcast is life changing. But for those listening, say no matter what stage they're at, and I know you give out weekly challenges, but what would you want people to come to you and say, "I heard you on Ian's podcast, and I really want to get clean and decluttered, etc., and calm my chaos, and I did this." What would you want that action to be? Would it be tackle one room? Would it be tackle a space? What thing do you think would help everybody listening?
I love this. Okay, so the biggest thing, it's not what you expect. The biggest thing is going to be for you to have a moment to yourself. So I would want them to close their eyes. First, find like a peaceful spot there where you're not going to be interrupted by any animals, any children, any people. We're talking like 2 minutes. Everybody can do this. And just to stop and pause, and to feel gravity pulling you towards the earth, and feel the contact of wherever your body is meeting the surface that you're touching, standing, sitting on, whatever. And then to take a deep breath and feel your lungs fill up. And then feel your body really relax. And then once you do that, open your eyes as if it's a brand new, you're seeing everything for the first time. And then I can almost promise you will make whatever environment you come in contact with a little better. Like, because you're going to feel not chaotic inside. And you are going to you're not even probably going to think about it. You're going to just go over and you're going to like put a dish in the dishwasher, or you're going to, like you're going to do something that will reflect this peaceful state that you just found inside you. And I mean, maybe you'll declutter your whole garage. I don't know. But that is what I would want to leave people with is to first change your internal state, because that only takes 2 minutes or less. And then you will find that you have so much more power over your external state.
I love that. I'm definitely going to have to make that as a video and put it out to people, because that, I think, is going to help so many people. And so for now, is it just your Facebook group? Are you on Instagram? How can we follow along in this amazing journey?
Yeah. Thank you. It's Declutter Your Chaos is on Instagram, and that's it. Yeah. So it's just my podcast, Declutter Your Chaos. And then I'm at Declutter Your Chaos on Instagram. And then if you listen to the podcast and you like it, then come join us in the Facebook group.
Well, that's it for another week. And thank you for listening. It's now time to take what you've learned and use it to develop and enhance your life with the key points mentioned. Listen, try it, embrace it, use it, and crush it. Now's your time to hit that next level in your life. If you liked this episode, then please leave a comment on the show notes or a review of the show on your podcast platform. Everything helps evolve the show. Until next week, keep seeking the next level in your life.